You don't have a book, right? We have books for this course. Can you go out there and ask one of the instructors to give you this book? Here, take this and show him. Ahmed knows, and just bring that one back to me. Okay. Have a seat and get ready for class, please. Okay. Okay. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Where's your book, your notebook? You were writing inside your book, and you don't have a book?
Yeah.
Huh?
Because somebody took it. I left it on the floor out there, and now it's not there.
Go out there and look again. Go look again. Okay. So this is your first class. I'm recording the classes and I upload them to Facebook. So if you give me your email, I can forward you the link. That way you can look at last week's class. That way you can catch up, inshallah.
Should I give it to you now or after class?
Huh?
Should I give it to you now or
After the class, inshallah. All right. We're basically still on the introduction on page 7. This course, as we said before, is 10 obstacles in the path of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we basically started off talking about what our role in life is. We defined our purpose in life, why we're here, what is our purpose, and we begin to talk about how while being in this world, there are going to be distractions along this journey to being a better servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are going to be distractions and there are going to be obstacles that are going to present themselves. And we said that, most of the challenges that we run into in this life are centered around people or things that try to take us away from our initial purpose, which is to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you turn to page 7, going down to, okay, have a seat. So it is important to understand in this day and time that codependency is the new idolatry. What does it mean, Zubair, to be codependent? We discussed that. What does codependency mean? What is that statement? Codependency is the new idolatry. This class is rooted in concepts. So as I'm talking, I'm going to give you, as they say, ru'us al-aqlam. I'm going to give you the main concepts. All right? All of this information is relevant, but most importantly is to be able to conceptualize. All right? You guys are high schoolers. So you guys should be able to hear someone talk. You guys should be able to read a book, and you should be able to conceptualize what is being said. Not taking everything, but to summarize the main point of what is being said. And that is how you easily digest information. If you're sitting there listening to everything, you're not going to grasp everything. You're not going to grasp when a person is talking, whether you're in high school or you move on to the university level and you're listening to your professor talk, you're listening to your teacher talk, the instructor talk, words are coming at you too fast. You're not going to be able to digest everything. But what you do is you summarize and you compartmentalize the information by way of concepts. All right, that's the easiest way to break down speech. All right. What does it mean? Codependency is the new idolatry. What does that mean?
Codependency is depending on more than one thing.
Depending on someone or something. All right. And what does that mean? Codependency is the new idolatry. What is idolatry? What is idolatry?
The worshiping of idols.
The worshiping of idols. So if I said codependency is the new idolatry, meaning idolatry, shirk, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it manifests itself in many different ways. And in the time that we're living in now, in this technological age of technology and social media and things like this, and how that is affecting relationships between human beings, all right, that shirk is going to manifest itself differently. And this is why people who totally rely on, books that were written years ago and just rely on that information, books written on Tawheed, books written on monotheism, which also includes subject matters of shirk in it. They were speaking about shirk from that particular paradigm, that particular time. But as time moves forward, as the world evolves, as human beings evolve, as evil evolves, do you guys believe that evil evolves? Does evil evolve?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you think evil 2,000 years ago looks like the evil that is today? It evolves. Shaitan evolves. Shaitan gets better with time. You understand? Shaitan does not stay the same. He does not use the same tricks. He does not use the same deceit. Shaitan gets better with time. You understand? He has to, because the ultimate, his Hail Mary pass, for lack of better words, Shaitan's Hail Mary is what? Meaning his final, blow to mankind is what? What's the last thing that's going to happen towards the last days? The Dajjal, the Antichrist. That is Shaitan's Hail Mary. That is what he is waiting for. So as we move closer to the time of the emergence of the Dajjal, the Antichrist, obviously Shaitan's, trickery gets better. It enhances. He figures out ways, new ways to lead human beings astray. So evil evolves just as human beings evolve. Keep that in mind. So shirk yesterday, idolatry of yesterday, is not going to look like the idolatry of today. It's going to look completely different. It's the same concept. It's just wrapped in a different, put in a different box. But it's the same concept. And it serves the same purpose, which is to sever your ties from your creator. That's the goal. Shaitan's goal is to sever ties between you and your creator. And he becomes very creative in doing that. Very creative. So don't ever think that evil, like we learn from these very antiquated books about Tawheed and shirk and bowing down to idols and, astrology and worshiping the stars and things like that. Okay, our shirk today is going to look a lot different. A lot different. And one of the ways that shirk manifests itself today is in codependency. Relying and trusting and hoping in someone or something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You follow me? Okay, so it is important to understand in this date and time, because codependency is the new idolatry. Most of the challenges that we are confronted with in our personal lives revolve around people and or things that have dedicated their entire existence to owning us, to owning you. All right? And the most important part of us, which is our hearts and our souls. The most important part of you physically is your heart. And the most important part of you spiritually is your soul. Period. Your heart and your soul. The two most important components that make you who you are. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, لَقَدْ خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانِ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. That we have created the human being in the best of molds. And the best of molds is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us an intellect. Alright? And the seat of our intellect is our heart. And He has given us a soul. Alright? The soul is who you are. Your physical body is just a vessel. You understand? If I was to take the water out of this water bottle, empty all of the water out of this, and leave it empty and sit it here, this is an empty vessel. Whatever I pour in it, that's exactly what it will be. You understand? If I pour juice in it, it's no longer a water bottle. It's a juice container. You understand? Whatever I pour in it, that's what it becomes. Your body is exactly that. It's just an empty vessel. And your body can be a vessel that carries positive energy or negative energy. It's all up to you. The soul that was put into this body, right? This body is a vessel. Allah put a soul inside of this body, and now the soul is having a human experience. All right? That's what it is. All right? But the body, your body, although the soul is in it, it can still be a house for negative energy as well, which is why people get possessed, demonic possession. They get possessed by demons because they've opened themselves up for whatever reason. They've opened themselves up to entertain demonic energy. So now their body has become a vessel for negative energy. You understand? Negative energy is housed in your body. All right? So, we live in a very narcissistic climate where many are absorbed with self-aggrandizing visions of grandeur, which oftentimes they superimpose on others they come in contact with. What does it mean to be a narcissist? What is a narcissist? What is a narcissist? I said we live in a very narcissistic climate. What is a narcissist? A narcissist is someone who is self-centered and believes the entire world revolves around them. The entire world revolves around them. And you see this manifest itself in relationships where people begin to believe that if you're not giving me what I want from you, right, then I'm going to discard you and I'm going to go find someone else who's going to give me what I want, right? It's all about what I want in the relationship. Not about me giving you what you want, but what you want from me, all right? And in relationships, there's a quid pro quo, right? It's this for that. It doesn't work one way. You understand? All right, so we live in a narcissistic climate where many are absorbed with self-aggrandizing visions of grandeur. They see themselves as being larger than life, right? And then they superimpose that on everybody that they come in contact with. Meaning, when they come in contact with people, they begin to make you feel like your world revolves around them, right? You ever run into people like that where they make you feel like your world revolves entirely around them? Right? What they need from you, what they want from you, what you have to do to make them happy, what you have to do to, this is the way that they treat you, right? So essentially, every relationship that we enter, whether platonic, a platonic relationship is just a relationship between you and someone else, and there's no sexual relations involved, whether it's a man and a woman, right? There's no sexual involvement, it's just friendship. A platonic relationship or otherwise becomes a fight for our soul. Every relationship that we enter into becomes a fight for our soul, right? Because we begin to give too much of ourselves into that relationship to the point where when we turn around, we realize that there's nothing of us left, or you don't even recognize yourself, right? You ever been in a friendship with someone and they're constantly draining you for energy, right? And you're constantly catering to this person, trying to make them happy, trying to give them more than what you give yourself, until eventually when they're done with you, they discard you and they move on to the next person, right? A relationship. And then when you try to pull out, as we said last week, you try to pull out of the relationship and they make you feel bad for choosing you, right? It's like we were friends. Like, we're not, like, you don't own me. Like, I'm not your slave. You don't own me, right? And then when you decide to kind of pull back a little bit and say, I'm not calling you or I'm not texting you simply because I need to kind of really retreat a little bit and find out who I am, then they make you feel bad for that. Why you didn't call me? It's like, do I have to call you? Or why didn't you come this? Or, on social media, I put up a post. Why didn't you like my post? It's like, I got to like every single post that you put up? It's almost like you don't even have a choice anymore because they have now superimposed their life on you. So Every relationship becomes a fight for our soul. In marriages, where feelings of jealousy sometimes lead to godlike tendencies, right? Where one spouse may resort to killing another spouse. A husband may kill his wife. The wife may ask for a divorce. I want out. This relationship is not working for me. And she wants a divorce. And what does he do? He kills her. Right? Believing that if I can't have you, no one else can have you. Like, you don't own me. You have people who feel like they own you. Right? Or vice versa. A man decides, he doesn't want to be married to the woman anymore. And she's like, no, you're not going to leave me. And she decides to kill you. As if, like, you own me. Now I belong to you, like I'm a slave to you. Right? This is what our environment has become. Very toxic. All right? So physically we may be in a commitment, but ownership of the soul belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Physically we may be friends, right? We're in a friendship. Physically we may be married. We may be husband and wife, right? But my soul belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You don't own my soul. You understand? This is very important for you guys to understand, because going into the workforce, all right, your boss may start to feel like he owns you, leaves no room. And this is what happens in the workforce today. They leave no room for human error. All right, you late. There's certain jobs, if you're late to the job X amount of times, you get fired. It's like there's no room for human error. Like, my car broke down, my car got stolen, I got into an accident, my kid had to run. It's like, none of that matters. You need to be here at 8:30. You understand? And there's no excuses. And you're threatened with being fired. Your whole livelihood put in jeopardy because you are a human being. But the person doesn't see you as a human being. Right? You work for them. You're a robot. They own you. Right? This is especially true with teachers. Right? Teachers don't have a life. Teaching is supposed to be an 8-hour job, just like any other job. But teachers have to take their work home. They're at home Saturday and Sunday grading papers while everybody else is enjoying life. You're a teacher. You're sitting at home in front of the TV grading papers the entire weekend. This is being a teacher, this type of job, or being an accountant where you're crunching numbers for a living. This is your life. You don't even have a life anymore. Your job now becomes your life. Right? So every relationship that we enter into becomes a fight for our soul. Right? Physically, we may be in a commitment, but ownership of the soul belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fir'aun, if you go back to the story of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Fir'aun, he said to the magicians after they submitted to the truth of Prophet Musa's miracle, right? What was the miracle that Allah gave to Musa? What did Allah give Prophet Musa?
A staff that can turn into a snake.
A staff that could turn into a snake. Now, this wasn't magic. This was real. This was a miracle. Mu'jiza. This wasn't magic. This wasn't like the magicians, right? Theirs was magic. All right? Magic, they were getting help from jinn, from a higher power, a negative energy, right? And they were, using their sorcery, using their magic. But what Musa had, alayhi salam, was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What comes from Allah is not magic. We wouldn't attribute it to magic. It was real. Musa threw his staff, it became a serpent, and it sucked up or it ate up the snakes of the magicians. When the magicians saw this, what did they do? They fell down into sujood. They prostrated because they submitted. They recognized that this is the truth. Fir'aun said to them, أَآمَنْتُمْ بِهِ قَبْلَ أَنْ آذَنَ لَكُمْ? Do you believe in Musa before I give you permission to believe in him? Can someone give you permission to believe in something? Can someone actually feel like they have the authority to control what you believe and when you believe and how you believe? You understand? This is what is called a God complex, where you begin to feel that you are so superior that you can control intimate actions of human behavior, like what a person believes. You understand? That's deep. We don't really reflect on the Quran the way that we're supposed to. You know, like we just read them. It looks like nice stories. But when you sit down for a second and you really dissect what is happening in a lot of these stories, man, you tajid ajib al-ujab, you find something amazing. Pharaoh said to them, do you believe in him before I give you permission to believe in him? I mean, like the audacity for someone to tell you that they will give you permission. I tell you what to believe and when to believe and how to believe. Let's fast forward to today. Is there anything, person, system, right, that forces you to believe in something? And if you don't believe in that thing, then there's consequences? Like what?
Yeah, Christian school or a Catholic school.
Catholic school, okay. So from a religious standpoint, you have many religions that won't allow you to freely think for yourself. They control what you believe. And I used to be a Christian, so I know how that works. The minute you begin to question some of the intricacies of their faith system, they literally force you back into the box. Why are you asking about this? Just believe. Right? Jesus is this and just believe in that. And it's like you don't have the right to think outside of the box that they put you in. All right? Is there another person, institution that forces you to believe what they want you to believe? Think. We live in America. Keep in mind, this is the land of cultism. This is the land of cultism. As American citizens, most of us are caught in a cult-like mentality due to the government that we live under. If you're keen enough to see it. How does the environment or the society that we live in force us to believe things that they want us to believe? And if you believe otherwise, then you're somehow, wired wrong, or you're somehow, deviant or astray. How about the, belief in, go ahead, what was you going to say?
I was going to say like Pledge of Allegiance or something like that.
Pledge of Allegiance. To believe that, our country is a country of equilibrium, that, that everybody is equal in this country, right? Our country, tears of thee, sweet land of liberty, right? Sweet land of liberty. Is this a land of liberty? Do we have freedoms? No, we have proposed freedoms. They tell you have the freedom of speech. But we've seen in the past how people have been hunted down and have been murdered for speaking their piece, for speaking truth to power. We're taught that we're all, man was created equal. That's what we were fed. But then we realize that there's a white structured power of white supremacy that we live under that make it possible for you as an African American, or you as a foreigner, or you as other than white, all right, to have the American nightmare while they have the American dream. Absolutely. Systematically, right? What about colleges and universities? Do they force you to believe certain things? And if you somehow don't believe those things, then you're somehow an outcast, or you're somehow, yes, absolutely.
They do it in high schools too.
They do it in high school too. The whole idea of Christopher Columbus discovering America, how long has that been fed to you? And if you challenge the system and say, no, Christopher Columbus did not discover America, then you're somehow some dissident, some deviant, that, has some weird ideologies that, eventually you're heading down the path of terrorism, right? Domestically or otherwise. All right. Or what if you say, I don't believe that Muslims was behind the 9/11 event, the tragic event of 9/11. I don't believe that Muslims were behind that. Which poll statistically was taking, most of Americans do not believe that Muslims were behind 9/11. Statistically. Most Americans do not believe that Muslims was behind that. But if you were to go into a university hall and the subject of 9/11 was to come up and you were to say, I don't believe that Muslims were behind that, everybody would turn and look at you as if you are somehow crazy. Because you are not allowed to believe except in the things that they tell you to believe in. So here again, this is the modern version of the Pharaonic system of controlling what you believe. Pharaoh said, do you believe in them? Do you believe in Musa before I give you permission to believe in him? All right? And this is what we're being taught. Critical thinking is no longer a part of teaching. All right? The whole purpose for you to go to school, whether from kindergarten to, to fifth grade, and then from middle school and all the way up to high school, all the way up to university, the core component of learning is critical thinking. And critical thinking has been removed from school curriculum. You are not allowed to think for yourself. All right? We live in a society of cultish behavior. All right? So, not to veer off from that, but, I just want you guys are high schoolers, so it's important for you guys to get these lessons, now, so that as you move further along in academia, you move into the university, you move into college, you go in understanding what you're walking into. All right? It's an indoctrination process. You are being indoctrinated. Make no mistake about that. Make no mistake about that. And Islam is dangerous because we practice a religion that teaches us to think outside of every single box. Every single box. And that's why Islam is a problem. It's a problem. Islam is a problem. Muslims are not a problem. Muslims are asleep. They're not worried about Muslims. They're worried about the doctrine of Islam. They're not worried about Muslims. They ain't got to worry about Muslims. Right? So, the extent of their relationship with Fir'aun was one of physical servitude, but he demanded something more intimate, not even they had control over, which was their heart and their soul. There was a similar conversation between Bilal ibn Abi Rabah and Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu that underscores the importance of distinguishing our interpersonal relationships with others from our emotional indebtedness to none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to be able to distinguish our interpersonal relationships with other people. Yes, we are friends. Yes, we are husband and wife. But there are limits to that relationship. I am not indebted to you. I don't owe you anything. You follow me? I'm not emotionally indebted to you. Right? I am indebted to God, not indebted to you. So we need to make a distinction between our interpersonal relationships with other people and our emotional indebtedness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After the Prophet ﷺ died, many of the Sahaba sought refuge in the area of Damascus, what we know today is Sham, right? Syria, Palestine, that whole area there. Many of the Sahaba migrated from Medina to the area of Sham, all right? And one of the first ones to call the adhan, who was Bilal ibn Abi Rabah, the first one to ever call the adhan in the history of Islam, he decided to relocate to Damascus as well. He was approached by Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, who actually freed him during the early period of Islam. When Abu Bakr found out that Bilal was a believer, he went and he purchased his freedom. All right? When Abu Bakr found out that Bilal was migrating to Damascus, Abu Bakr went to Bilal and told him, don't leave Medina. We need you here in Medina to call the adhan. All right? We need you here to call the adhan. And Bilal said something so powerful to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, very powerful. He said to him, إِنْ أَعْتَقْتَنِي لِنَفْسِكَ أَبْقَى وَإِنْ أَعْتَقْتَنِي لِلَّهِ فَأَتْرُكْنِي أَذْهَبْ حَيْثُ شِئْتَ. He said that if you freed me for you, I'll stay. If you freed me for you, I'll stay. But if you freed me for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then let me go wherever I want to go. Powerful comment. What does he mean by this? What did Bilal, what was he essentially saying to Abu Bakr? What was he saying to him? He said, if you freed me for Allah, then let me go wherever I please. But if you freed me for yourself, then I'll stay. What was he essentially saying to him? He was saying that although it's a little intense, the comment itself was very intense, but he was basically saying to Abu Bakr that although you freed me, I don't owe you anything. If you freed me for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you did that for the sake of Allah, all right, you freed me physically. But that doesn't mean that that you own me now because you freed me physically. All right, here again, that indebtedness that people make you feel. In this day and time, when people do something for you, they make you feel like you owe them. Right? Always. When someone does something for you today, they make you feel like they owe you. It's like, okay.
They expect you to pay them back.
They expect you to pay them back, but they expect you to pay them back with more than what they gave you.
Interest.
They want interest, emotional interest. Because they don't just want what you gave them back. They want that and more. They want loyalty, right? They want loyalty from you. They want you to do whatever they tell you to do because they did a favor for you during the time when you were vulnerable. Absolutely. Understand how this stuff plays out in human interaction. Very deep, man. How people can do something for you and then turn around and make you feel like you owe them. They don't want you to repay them with what they gave you. They want that and more. They want your loyalty. They want to be able to own your decisions, right? So, for example, let's say you start a new school, right? You start a new school. This is for you guys, high schoolers. You start a new school. Your first day of school, you don't really know anybody. You don't know anyone, right? So God comes up to you, he sees you, and he says, hey, you're new here. He starts a conversation with you, makes you, feel friendly. Hey, let's go to the gym. I know this person, introduce you to his friends. All right, the very next day, he comes up to you, y'all eating lunch together. But weeks go by, and you guys have developed a close relationship. Now, he sees that you are now friends with somebody that he's an enemy to. And now he starts to look at you saying, why are you friends with him? That's my enemy. And you're saying, but it's not my enemy. That's your problem. Whatever transpired between you and him transpired between you two before I came here. So now he's trying to dictate who you can actually be friends with based upon what he did for you when you first came to the school. You see how that works? You see how that works? So now he doesn't just want you to repay him for befriending you when you started the school. He wants your loyalty. He wants your loyalty. Meaning, even if he gets into a fight with someone, let's say he swings off on somebody, he's expecting you to jump in and help him, even though you're saying, like, dude, that ain't my fight. And then he get back to you and it's like, why didn't you jump in? Why didn't you help? It's like, dude, that's not my fight. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to get suspended. But the expectation is that you are supposed to be loyal now. And you have to make it clear that I don't belong to anyone except my creator.
That is why you become the leader and you make better decisions.
That's why you become a leader and you make better decisions. Well, you don't necessarily have to. You can become a leader within yourself. And these types of concepts is what help you become a leader. Understanding this material here is what helps you to stand on your own 2 feet and not be a slave to anybody. That is what this is. This whole entire course is designed to teach you guys how to stand on your own 2 feet, no matter where you are, and become your own leader and never become subservient to anybody else. Period. I don't care who it is. I don't care who it is. So, the concept of belonging only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was a concept that was infused within the teachings of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which his companions embodied and exemplified in some of the most rudimentary interactions with one another. This underscores the fact that Tawheed or monotheism was more of a way of life for them, juxtaposed to the abstract theory that it has become or has been reduced to in contemporary times. The concept of Tawheed, right? Monotheism, worshiping one God, believing in one God, worshiping one God, right? This concept to the Sahaba was a way of life. It was a way of life. It's how they lived. Whereas today, we talk about Tawheed or monotheism in this abstract, theoretical manner where it's just, it's just a concept. It's just an idea. But it's not infused in our teachings so much so that our entire lives is an embodiment of Tawheed. The Sahaba, radiallahu ta'ala anhum ajma'in, their entire life, they lived Tawheed. They lived Tawheed. It was their way of life. Whereas for us, we have to learn the theory, the idea, the theory of Tawheed. And then perhaps, even if we learn it in theory, we still don't actually even know how to live it, how to practice it. And what we're learning today in this course is how to make Tawheed your life. We're not teaching Tawheed 101, giving it to you in terms of abstract concepts or theories that we just handed to you that may be applicable here or not applicable there. You're giving you Tawheed as a way of life. As a way of life. You understand? And many of the people who teach Tawheed, I'm just being honest with you, many of them don't even understand it themselves. Evidenced by the fact that they complicate it trying to explain it to you. If you overcomplicate something trying to explain it to someone, then that means that you don't understand it. Because if you don't understand something, you can't explain it. If you don't understand something, you can't possibly explain it. When you find someone that is able to give you a concept, regardless of what the concept is, and break it down to you in the smallest molecule where you can digest it easily, that means that person that's teaching you understands it themselves. You understand? Because if a person understands something, they can break it down to you on so many levels because they themselves have grasped the concept. But if you haven't grasped the concept, you're going to overcomplicate it trying to explain it to someone else because you yourself don't understand it. You understand? If you don't understand something, you can't explain it. That's one of the easiest ways. And sometimes you see that with teachers. When a teacher doesn't understand a concept, he or she gets in front of the class and tries to teach the concept, and you're like, but I don't understand. Can you explain it? And then they get frustrated with you as if you are the problem, right? And this is what, for lack of better words, this is what a lot of people who try to teach Tawheed, right? They end up making you feel like you're stupid, right? You're somehow incompetent because they've explained it to you over and over and over again, and you should understand it. But you're saying to them, but I still don't understand. So somehow there's a problem with your understanding, not a problem with their method of teaching. You understand? Teachers do it all the time. I see it all the time. In classrooms, teachers are fumbling over their words, stumbling, contradicting themselves, trying to explain a small concept. A small concept. They're trying to explain the concept. You've contradicted yourself on multiple occasions, right? And then when a smart teacher, a smart student questions you, then you get frustrated. You get upset. You get in your feelings. Right? You want to give the child extra homework. You want to get the child suspended or sent to the teacher's office. And all the child was trying to do was show you that you didn't understand it. And instead of you as a teacher understanding like, well, let's come back to it tomorrow. Let me go back and review it again myself. And let me come back to you tomorrow and let me have a better explanation for you. Instead of you just humbling yourself and saying that, no, we're going to make it seem like the child doesn't understand and there's somehow something inherently wrong with the kid that's sitting in front of you. And it's not fair. It's not fair. So Tawheed for the Sahaba was a way of life juxtaposed to the abstract theory that it has been reduced to in contemporary times. Habiba, the Prophet ﷺ's wife, one of his wives, she made an extremely unusual appeal for him to marry her sister. All right? She asked the Prophet ﷺ, can you marry my sister? And the Prophet ﷺ said to her, would you like me to marry your sister? Like, what woman makes a request like that? That was a very unusual request, right? No woman who's married to a man would ask that same man to marry her sister. So the Prophet ﷺ, confused, where she's going with this, he said, would you like me to marry your sister? And listen to what she said. She said, yes, I would like you to marry my sister. She said, O Messenger of Allah, lestu bi mukhalliya bika. She said, I don't have you to myself anyway. I don't have you to myself anyway. She said, and I would love nothing more than for my sister to share in the good that I found in you. I found good in you. And if there was anyone else in the world that I would want to share in the good that I found in you, it would be my sister. And the Prophet ﷺ explained to her that, no, this is not possible, because in Islam, a man cannot be married to two sisters. Whether half-sisters or biological sisters, he cannot be married to two sisters at the same time. All right, so it was haram anyway. The point that I'm making is her comment, I don't have you all to myself anyway. What does she mean by that?
She doesn't own him? Like,
She doesn't own him, meaning what?
like she can't, or she doesn't control all the good that's inside of him or something like that?
She doesn't control all the good that is inside him.
She can't force him.
She can't force him. Okay, that's one way of looking at it.
She can't have everything that he has. Like,
Was she the only wife?
Yeah. Oh wait, no. At the time.
At the time, she was not the only wife. So when she said, I don't have you to myself anyway, what does she mean by that? Meaning, I have to share you with other women as well. So, I mean, why not let my sister, get in on this? I don't have you all to myself anyway. You understand? I don't have you all to myself, meaning I have to share you with other people anyway. I don't own you. I don't own you. Not only that, she also had to share him with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is something for women to understand. Because sometimes women get upset when the man wants to go to the masjid and pray. The man wants to go, to the masjid. He's running back and forth to the masjid to pray. He's going to this lecture or this conference. And the wife is getting in her feelings because she's like, well, what about my time? And of course, there should be a balance with that. But at the same token, sometimes women will actually get upset because you're going to the masjid to pray. And it's like, you don't own me. Like, I have to go, part of my day, part of my life is devoted to serving the one that created me, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when she said, I don't have you all to myself anyway, she was saying that I have to share you with other women. Meaning, I have co-wives, I have women that I share you with. And I share you with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Meaning, I don't own you. I don't own you. And they understood this. Right? So as a woman in polygyny, she understood that the Prophet ﷺ didn't belong to her. And most importantly, she had to share him with his Lord. The Prophet ﷺ used to stand up for many hours at night and pray. So much so that sometimes he would pray so long, his feet would bleed. The back of his foot would crack and bleed. That's how long he would be standing up. So sometimes a man may slip out of bed and go in the living room and go pray. Right? And a woman may be upset because she's like, well, I want to lay with you, but a portion of my time has to be allocated for worship. That's what we were put here for. Right? Don't interfere with the main purpose of my creation. All right? You don't own me. Let me go. You understand? All right? And women are very territorial, so it's very important for them to understand that. All right? So, as a woman in polygyny, she understood that the Prophet ﷺ didn't belong to her, and most importantly, she had to share him with his Lord. The Prophet ﷺ spent a considerable amount of time engaging in worship to a creator that will accept no partners on any level of your servitude. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not accept any partners in your servitude to him. Allah wants it all. It's all or nothing. All right? Allah says in a hadith al-Qudsi, أَنَا أَغْنِ شُرَكَاءَ عَنِ الشِّرْكِ. I am the one that is in least need of a partner. فَمَنْ عَمِلَ عَمَلًا فَأَشْرَكَ فِيهِ غَيْرِ مَعِي تَرَكْتُهُ وَشَرَكَهُ. So whoever does a deed and associates a partner in that deed along with me, I will abandon him and his shirk. Allah says, I am the least in need of a partner. Allah does not want a portion, a share. He wants it all. Right? And what we give, or who we give a share to, is everyone else. Everything belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our life, our death, our prayer, our sacrifice, everything. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين لا شريك له. Say, indeed, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life, my death, lillahi rabbil alameen, all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rabbul alameen. La sharika la, no partners in that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants no partners. So when we give our entire lives to Allah, what we give to other people, like our children, our wives, our husbands, what we give to everybody else is a portion, a share, what we have left over from what we give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not the other way around. Not we give all of our energy to our children, our spouses, our jobs, and then what we have left over, then we give to God. No, it's the opposite way around. We give everything to Allah, and what we have left over, if we have energy, time left over, we give that to everyone else. All right? So this journey of servitude does not come to a halt or an end because we've had a bad day or some unfortunate mishap in our lives. Some people believe that because I'm having a bad day, I'm having a bad year, I'm having a bad month, I'm just going to stop being Muslim. I'm going to stop worshiping. You run into people all the time that don't pray. And you say, brother, why don't you come to the masjid and pray? Oh, I'm going through something right now. It's like, okay. So that means all worship stops. Our journey to being a servant of Allah comes to a halt, comes to a full stop because you're having a hard time, because you're having some type of mishap in your life. Our journey to being servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not come to a halt, does not stop or end because we had a bad day. We don't just give up worship because we've had a bad day. We don't give up worship because we have some unfortunate event that came up in our lives. I'm amazed when I hear people say, oh, I'm not praying anymore. I'm going through something right now. And it's just like, what does that mean? So you just stop praying because you're going through something? Right? There's people who still go to work even though they're sick. There's people who can't afford to take off even though they're sick. But we'll stop worshiping because some mishap, something happened in our lives. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. There are no breaks along this journey. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, in Surah Al-Hijr, ayat number 99, وَعْبُدْ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ, and worship your Lord until death overtakes you. That's when you stop. Worship stops. Your path, your journey to servitude stops when the angel of death removes the soul from this vessel that you call a body. When your soul is extracted from your body, that's when your worship stops. Until then, you continue along your journey. There's going to be bumps, there's going to be obstacles, there's going to be things that come up. But we do not stop until death overtakes us. وَعْبُدَ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ, worship your Lord until death overtakes you. I see Muslims who take sabbaticals from worship. You know what a sabbatical is? A break. I've seen Muslims who take a break from Islam and go party, drink, have children out of wedlock, and then decide, okay, I want to come back to Islam, right? I'm going to come back and I'm going to resume, right? I'm going to put my Islamic life on pause. I'm going to go out and do me. And then I'm going to come back to Islam and I'm going to pick up where I left off. It doesn't work like that. This is a journey that we've been on from the moment we exited the wombs of our mothers. And we don't stop on that journey until our soul is extracted from our bodies. That's it. But I've seen Muslims who actually have taken breaks from Islam. I need a break from Islam. Literally. I need a break from Islam. I'm going to go party, I'm going to drink and have children and do me. And then once I'm tired of doing that, I'm going to make tawbah and I'm going to come back to Islam and I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to give Islam another try, right? I'm going to give Islam another shot, right? I've heard Muslims say that, I'm going to give Islam another try. As if you're somehow, on a bike, you fall off and you get back on and, it's like, no. We continue along the journey. All right. Although there are some of us who believe that the root of our problems and challenges in life is our practice of Islam, so we continue along this journey of servitude until we reach a fork in the road where we choose temporary convenience and enjoyment over eternal bliss and absolute pleasure. Allah says in the Quran, and from amongst mankind are those who worship Allah as if they were on a ledge. If some good comes to them, then they are content and they remain as they are. But if some difficulty comes to them, they turn on their heels, all right, forfeiting the life of this world as well as in the hereafter. And this is the ultimate forfeiture, the ultimate deprivation. There's some people, as long as everything is going good for them, they're good. They're good Muslims. So as long as Allah is blessing them with money, blessing them with children, blessing them with, material things, they're good. They're good Muslims. But the moment some tests come to them, some challenge come to them, they back away completely. They back away completely. Turn on their heels. Khasira dunya wal akhirah. Destroying or forfeiting their dunya as well as their hereafter. Every legislation in Islam has been designed to keep the believers on this path of servitude. Everything that we have in our religion of halal, haram, do's and don'ts, do this, commandments, al-nahyu, al-amr, wal-nahyu, right? Commandments, prohibitions, halal, haram. All of these serve as signposts to keep us on this narrow path of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Thus, the commandments and prohibitions, halal, haram, serve as signposts for the believer along this journey. The Prophet ﷺ said, indeed, the halal is clear. إِنَّ الْحَلَالِ بَيِّن وَالْحَرَامِ بَيِّن وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُورٌ مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ لَا يَعْلَمُهُنَّ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ النَّاسِ. The Prophet ﷺ said that indeed the halal is clear and the haram is clear, meaning these signposts are very clear. Halal, haram, do, don't, all of these things are clear. He said, وَبَيْنَهُمَا أُمُورٌ مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ. But in between the halal and the haram are some gray areas that most people know nothing about. He said that if you stay away from the gray areas, فَقَدْ اسْتَبْرَأَ بِإِرْضِهِ وَدِينِهِ, then you safeguard, you protect your honor and your religion. But whoever grazes around, all right, the sanctuary, you get too close, then eventually you're going to fall in, all right? So what the Prophet ﷺ is saying here in this metaphor, that if you stay in between, if you stay understanding halal and haram and you stay on that path, you don't have anything to worry about. When you venture off into the gray areas of halal and haram, perhaps you're going to fall into what is haram. All right? There are many obstacles along this journey that hinder or completely divert us from attaining our goal of navigating life's trials and challenges while remaining connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are many obstacles that we are going to face on this path of servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And sometimes these obstacles are going to hinder us and divert us, from our goal of navigating the trials of life while remaining connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right? And we have to understand that our servitude will look different at each and every stage of our spiritual development. And as we mature with knowledge and life experiences, so will our journey become easier to navigate. As we learn more about our religion, we learn more about ourselves, we learn more about the world and where we fit into that world, our journey will become easier. Our journey becomes easier. All right? Right now, it seems like it's daunting. It looks like there's no light at the end of the tunnel because your life experiences are very limited. All right? And you have, a little bit of knowledge. But as you increase in your knowledge and your life experiences continue to expand, then your path, navigating this path will become easier. The Prophet ﷺ said to his companions, and I'll conclude with this, he said that if you knew what I knew, you would laugh less and cry more. And this was due to his knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the plethora of challenges that he encountered along his journey to being the model servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet said to his companions, if you knew what I knew, you would laugh less and cry more. That means that he had knowledge about things that they did not have knowledge about. Some of them gained knowledge about those things later on. Some of them never gained knowledge about that. But the Prophet ﷺ was very serious about life because of the knowledge and the experiences that he had, which placed him a level above everyone else. All right, so inshallah ta'ala, to next week, we'll start with obstacle number 1, and that is shaitan, our eternal enemy. The first obstacle in our path to being better servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shaitan. And as the statement goes, if you know yourself and you know your enemy, then you don't have to worry about the results of 1,000 battles. But if you do not know yourself and you do not know your enemy, right, then you will succumb every single time. You understand? If you know yourself and you know your enemy, you need not to worry about the result of 1,000 battles. Because you know who you are and you know who your enemy is. But if you don't know who you are and you don't know your enemy, you will succumb every single time. Meaning you will lose every single time. You follow me? So shaitan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already told us that he is our enemy, our eternal enemy. Until Yawm al-Qiyamah, he is our enemy. So we need to know our enemy. Know your enemy. Know how he's going to come at you. Know the tricks that he's going to use. Understand what his plot is. And understand the power that Allah gave him and what his weaknesses are. Shaitan has weaknesses. Do you know that? Shaitan is not as powerful as you think he is. Shaitan has weaknesses. And it would behoove you as a Muslim to understand the weaknesses of your enemy. Alright, many of us look at shaitan as this creature, this being is like almost omnipotent, right? Omnipotent and omnipresent, almost like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We equate shaitan as the evil version of God. And there could be nothing further than the truth. There can be nothing more erroneous, nothing more inaccurate than that. Shaitan is not the evil version of God. Not even close. He does not have the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not even close. The only power that shaitan has is what we give him. You understand? You make your enemy powerful. The only power that shaitan has is the power that we give him. Due to our fear, which is due to our ignorance. When you're ignorant, you become afraid. Alright? And in your being afraid, you become vulnerable. So we'll talk about that next week, inshallah ta'ala. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam taslima kathira. You guys have any questions before we conclude? Okay. We'll stop here. Let me see that.
Oh, yeah, I have one question.
What's your question?
Yom Qiyamah, where is Shaitan going to go?
Yom al-Qiyamah, where is Shaitan going to go? He's going to go to the hellfire.
Isn't he made out of fire?
Isn't he made out of fire? Let me tell you something about the shaitan is not created from fire, created from smokeless fire. So there's a different type of fire that shaitan is created from. All right. The fire that shaitan is created from, in comparison to the fire of the hereafter, the fire of the hellfire, there's no comparison. Two totally different types of fire. Even in this world, not all fire is the same. Right? Not all fire is the same. A simple house fire from a stove or a boiler or something like that is different from the fire that is fueled by, ether or something like that coming from like a plane or something like that. The levels of fire are different, even in this world. So how much more would that be even in the hereafter? The levels of fire are different.
It's like a regular fire compared to the sun.
Right. The regular fire compared to the fire of the sun. Absolutely. Do you see pictures of the sun and you see the flames coming up off of the sun? Is that flame or is that heat or is that fire anywhere near equivalent to the fire in this world? Not at all. And if that's the case with things that are created in this world, then what about the fire that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created specifically for punishment? Right? The fire of the sun is to give us light. It wasn't created to punish us. But the fire in the hellfire is fire that was created specifically to punish. You understand? That was its design from the very beginning. From the moment Allah created the hellfire, the fire of the hellfire was created to burn and punish. So there was an intent behind that. Absolutely. Were there any questions of you guys online? Inshallah, we'll stop here.